Welcome everyone to the July 2025 CentOS board meeting. We have quorum. I've got a few topics to discuss. Some of them are new, some of them are old. Davida, do you want to talk GitLab migration?
Sure. I don't think there's a ton of updates here. I would say works. Like GitLab, at least for building packages and doing SIG work, is working fine. Hyperscale is using it. Proposed updates is using it. Hyperscale also set up some fairly elaborate CI stuff for a bunch of packages now, and we're getting good success with that. So it's been working well. News from today is that we are working to get support added in Copper, because right now in Copper knows how to use as a source like Fedora dist-git and the old CentOS dist-git on git.centos.org, but it doesn't know how to use GitLab for SIGs specifically as a dist-git. And this was prompted by Hyperscale specifically wanted to be able to do builds targeting ELN. And the easiest way to do builds for ELN right now is to do that in Copper for a variety of reasons. So I was just talking to somebody on that team earlier, and they're making good progress there. So I think we'll have that working very soon. Besides that, Fabian tested out the migration, the tool to migrate things from Pagure to GitLab for not for RPMs, but for other repos that are on git.centos.org, like the board issues repo. Members of the board have access to a private repo on GitLab that they can look at to see how it looks like. But basically what this tool does is that it copies over all of the issues, keeping the reference to the old ones, and then it copies all the comments. So it preserves all of the data. It does look a bit wonky. Sorry, folks, I have to get a package. I will be right back.
We'll edit out this big block of time before we post.
Actually put it in slow motion.
Slow motion.
And this is where we get to see the trees that are behind his chair.
Oh, very nice.
As it slowly zooms in.
Because it doesn't know how to focus.
I do know. No, I've got a 401 issue with the board issues repo that Davida was just talking about, but I haven't reached out to Fabian yet. I have a GitLab account, which has a different name than my CentOS login, which I think is the issue.
Sorry,
but I'm not sure
downsides of working from home. Yeah, I was saying the repo with the issues migrated, it preserves all of the data. It just looks a bit wonky because all of the issues and all of the comments are made by a bot. And we don't have an easy way to map users from GitLab to Pagure. So that's the only downside there, but it does work. I think it's a workable solution for archival, so we should be good to go there.
Okay, and I was just mentioning I'm still 401, but that could be because of my user ID on GitLab not matching my user ID for CentOS.
I think it should work. I haven't checked if I have admin on that repo. You can ask Fabian.
Yeah, I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Mike?
In terms of the user discrepancy and the migration, is that a forever thing, or is there maybe do we expect that there's going to be like a follow-up to try to do that mapping later and adjust it?
So I asked the same question in Matrix to the folks that were working on it. It sounds like the fundamental problem is that GitLab has an API that lets you impersonate a user and do things on behalf of a user. However, that API only exists on instances of GitLab you run yourself because it requires doing operations at the GitLab instance admin. And in our case, we're on GitLab.com, so we're not the instance admins. The instance admin is GitLab, the company. So it doesn't look like we can use that API. And I couldn't find another way to do this, and the folks that were working on this couldn't find another way to do it either. If we could find an API that allows us to make tickets on behalf of users without being those users, then this could be resolved because we have the data. Like we already have the data in FAST that maps FAST user to GitLab user. We don't have the mapping from Pagure user to GitLab user, but that's something that could be reconstructed most likely. So it will require work, but the work will be tractable if we had an API in GitLab that allowed us to do it. But at least we could not find an easy way to do it. There is, for what it's worth, a matrix room where this discussion is going on, which, let me find it. If folks are interested, it's pound CentOS-Pagure-GitLab on fedora.im. I can't type in the chat here, but I will put this in the notes because I can type there.
Okay. And Neil had a comment in the channel, which actually was kind of related to a question I was going to ask you. And let me read Neil's first. I suppose marshaling it to GitLab's export data format would be the way to do it. Then you can manually edit the data before importing. Pat did put the link to the channel name in the chat as well. And my question was basically, yeah, could we just throw the person's name in as a little comment in the...
Yeah, so that's what he's doing now. So now everything is made by a bot, and he says, I'm a bot, I'm doing this on behalf of user blah. And then it's like, user blah said this in their description, this was the old ticket. And then when there's comments, the bot says, this is a comment on behalf of user blah. And then it's the comment.
So while it's not linked, we're not losing the data.
Yeah, you don't lose the data. And I think for historical stuff, keeping in mind that the vast majority of tickets are closed, like we don't really have repos that have thousands and thousands of open tickets. Like I think the one with the largest amount of outstanding open tickets is the board repo, and that's because of all of the SIG review stuff. But I think once you take that aside, we have maybe like 20 or so open tickets that this would inconvenience people. And then if you're looking at historicals, then yeah, you need to do some spelunking, but it's, I don't know. I think it would be nice to fix this, but I don't necessarily think this is a showstopper to move forward. Let me see if I could
find it. Might be something we can actually do with the API afterwards to map it.
Potentially, yes. I think this could also be a thing that we can ask the GitLab folks what they think would be the best way to do this. I suspect we're not the first customers of theirs that had like what effectively amounts to a custom internal forge that they have to import into GitLab, because that's what this is at the end of the day. Like Pagure is open source, but for all intents and purposes, it's a custom forge. And Pagure has the advantage that by being open source, if there's something that it doesn't expose that it will need to expose to make this easier, we can potentially look at fixing that. So I don't know. I would encourage folks that are interested to engage in that matrix room. If you have ideas or suggestions for ways we could approach this. Most of the work has been led by Akashdeep. And there's a public repo on the Fedora infra. Sorry, let me link that in the. So this is the software that's being used. Yeah. So that's the software that is being used for these. But to be clear, this is only for non-RPM repos. For RPM repos, there are no issues to move effectively. There are no pull, well, there are technically pull requests, but I think we probably don't need to worry too much about pull requests for RPM repos because we didn't have a ton of those. So generally speaking, I think we should be okay.
And we can also like put a freeze out and let people know between these hours, don't do anything so we can get things migrated over.
Yeah, the other thing that we can look at that I haven't looked into this, but something that we may want to do is when we do this, before we turn off the lights on the old instance, we should just do a data dump of the entire instance and like shove it in cold storage somewhere so that if down the road we find out that we missed something or we need something to get back, we can get it back. Especially because that instance was also used for the old source delivery stuff for RHEL, which there's like, it doesn't impact Stream specifically, but I know RHEL has specific obligations around providing and making that available. So we do want to be mindful that we don't accidentally impact that.
All right, and just to read Neil's comment, Padger also has a well-defined data mode that could be used as an import to create a specially crafted GitLab export bundle to import that would let you get users and such correctly. All right, so it does seem like there's
a few avenues then. Yeah.
I'm just glad that we're at least getting the people's names in a comment and we're not totally just getting a bot open this with no reference to who it originally came for. All right, is there any other discussion on this topic? Troy?
I don't think this was mentioned, but I'm just going to ask it. So currently they brought over everything. If we want to update an issue, should we update it in Pagure or GitLab?
No, so currently keep working in Pagure. The board stuff specifically and all the none of the existing stuff from Pagure has been moved over besides testing. I think we will have a very loud announcement when the actual move happens. For now, we have done like tests here and there to make sure it works so people can get a feel for it, but keep working in Pagure for now.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. I added to the agenda everyone's favorite topic of AI. And you know it's coming. It will be used for either AI functionality coming into the code. No, Sean, not all images, artificial intelligence. But also the fact that people will be submitting code that came from AI, and we know it's going to happen. We are currently working through a second draft in the Open Infra Foundation for dealing with this, and I don't think it would be a bad idea for us to get ahead of the curve with some AI governance. So just an example for code that is coming in through AI, we have 2 tags in Open Infra. One is assisted by. It looked at my code and made suggestions, which is a new part of the more recent rewrite we did. The original was generated by, and that was basically your code comes from AI. But because there is that overlap that some people might go, well, it wasn't generated by, I only got the suggestion. That's why we also came up with assisted by. So I just wanted to bring this idea to everybody. Go ahead, Davida. Davida? Did we totally lose Davida?
Okay, now it works. Sorry.
Okay.
I have a question that we probably can't answer here, but I feel like it's fairly fundamental. Like, the definition of what an AI contribution can vary, but especially if we're talking about code contributions, the vast majority of models that people would use to provide code contributions have been trained on code of unknown provenance or corpuses of unknown provenance. So given that if someone contributes code to CentOS Stream that's potentially generated with one of these, this code potentially gets into CentOS Stream, this could then potentially makes it into RHEL. We probably need to figure out what are the commitments that RHEL makes in terms of supply chain and provenance of code there, so that whatever we decide doesn't end up compromising that.
Okay, and I think how we addressed that, and Pat, I'll call you next, was that it had to come from a known source and an open source, at least for Open Infra. Like I said, I just really want to get this on our plate. I do not have all the answers. Pat, go ahead then, Mike.
Some of the projects that I've been working with have started to use the DCO for essentially, you swear that that the code you're submitting meets the licensure requirements for where it's going. And that while you attach other metadata to it, such as assisted by, or I've also seen people use reviewed by to point to a large language model, the DCO has been what they've been using to essentially cover their liability.
And we just moved to DCO as well with the move to Linux Foundation.
Yeah, from a bigger picture perspective, I think that this might be something we would want to discuss with Fedora and the Freckle stuff. And Jack is one step ahead of me there. So I will leave it at that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is just something I want us to get ahead of. But yes, our thought with the switch to DCO was very convenient in that it at least required a human to sign off on what was being put in, and it just couldn't be an AI putting in. All right, Mike, you are next then, Sean. I'm loving this hand numbering thing.
Oh, I just wanted to say I agree with wait, taking the time and syncing with whatever Fedora is doing, but I think, I don't know if you explicitly said, but we want to separate so the different code that we're making these policies for, right? Because I think we have more to say over what SIG code is doing versus stream contributions. We're going to have, I think, less say over what the AI policy there is.
True. And I like the idea of the suggestion that we work with Freckle as well, because that also gets the R from the RHEL folks to see what they're doing. If they have governance, mind you, they don't call it governance internally, but something we can put together that aligns with everybody because we know it's going to come through. And Jack said Fedora Council is working on a draft. So yeah, I think this was a really good topic for a Freckle discussion. Sean?
I was going to say a lot of what Mike said, but I want to also say I think we actually just had an internal meeting with Chris Wright, the CTO, yesterday. So, and I think I'm fair in saying like Chris also brought up these using the like approved by or not approved. I'm sorry, assisted by and generated by tags. That seems to be something that's gaining traction. I don't know what Red Hat's policy will be. As Mike said, like the stream contributions will be Red Hat's policy, really. But I'm certain that Red Hat's policy will not be no AI assisted. Like it's just not. It's not where the winds are blowing, right? So we need to be prepared for that to be something that comes in. And I suppose SIGs can have their own policies if they want, but I think there's maybe value in us just saying, here's our default policy for SIGs, for non-stream content, stuff that we control community-wise. My one other point is as a distribution project, we package and ship a lot of code that we have little control over what's there. And so, if some upstream project decides that they're just going to take a bunch of AI generated stuff without the tags or whatever that we might want to encourage, is that an issue for us continuing to accept that as an upstream that we're going to continue packaging?
I'll let Davida go and then I'll say something.
There we go. I think it depends. I don't think we need to necessarily police upstream things that we package as more than we already police them. Like at the end of the day, we have processes for that. And like if a package that is shipped in CentOS, it came most likely through Fedora. If it suddenly starts being complete garbage, then either the maintainer will notice and take action, or eventually this will get escalated and like the project as a whole will notice and take action. Like this is no different than some project that gets a hostile takeover or whatever. So I'm not concerned as much there. I think where this can get interesting is like, so for example, in another project I'm involved in, we had one user that submitted AI-assisted translations of the entirety of the documentation in multiple languages. And they submitted them as this was like a drive-by contribution. And like the decision that was made there was to not accept this because nobody was fluent in the languages, and like who's gonna maintain this like one-off, clearly AI-fed corpus of stuff. And I think an argument can be made that, well, if somebody wants to sign up to maintain translations for a language, and they are gonna use AI tools to help and do that, but they're able to vet the output of the AI and like use the AI as a tool, I think that's fine. In the same way that you can argue that like, okay, it's like using autocomplete or whatever other tool you have. I think if people are going to submit contributions that they are not capable or able or willing to review and own themselves, that's where the problem is. And that's where I think we should think about drawing a line.
And Sean, going back to your comment that we do take things from other upstreams.
Oh, sorry.
I think we can build that into the governance, the acknowledgement that some things are coming from our upstreams that we do not control. I think that's definitely something we can build in there. And like I said, this just came up in the last week or less than the last week that I figured that it would be a good idea for us to get ahead of the curve with this. Go ahead, Pat.
Another way that I would think about this is we're looking at large language models for things that we would put in the spec file as patches, whereas things that we put in the spec file as sources are probably coming from upstream. So however they built their release, that's their problem.
Right.
It's that we are doing to it.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by we build into the governance the wording that says, you know, we acknowledge that things may be coming from AI upstream that we have no control of. And then we write it out, you know, worded like that, but better than what I just said. And just to keep everyone up to date on what's going on in the chat, Jack mentioned that Fedora Council has been working on this at the last meeting, so it came up for them too. And no, I did not know they were working on it before I added it to our agenda to discuss. It's just something we had been working on in Open Infra, and I thought was definitely worth us getting ahead of the curve on. Jack's going to ask for the doc and see if we can't get a hold of it. And for those who aren't aware on some of our documentation, like the COC governance, we started with Fedoras and then adjusted it for CentOS and made it fit our community. But because of the shared FAS and account system, we have to have the same basics. Now, we don't necessarily have to have the same basics here, but I do think it's a good idea because most of our code does eventually flow from them. So we start with theirs and then we adjust it for any narrowing down that we feel we need and any wording we feel we need. I would assume also that at some point this should probably, and Fedora's probably will, go to legal just to make sure that it is worded properly and passes all the checks. And if it doesn't go to legal, I'd be really surprised just because there's certain wording that we probably won't put in there that needs to be in there. Does anyone else have anything on this topic? And keep in mind, we're talking about AI-generated contributions here. We do also realize there may be AI functionality in here that will come out of Stream itself because Rel AI was announced at Red Hat Summit. So there probably is some of that going on already in Stream. I don't think we need to include that in this governance because it's more of functionality than contribution. But I would hope our release notes and documentation address, you know, and this new feature is AI driven and it does this and this and this. Go ahead, Davida.
Yeah, I don't think it's our place to put in place usage restrictions on the project. Like it has always been that people can use the bits to do whatever they want with them within the constraints of the license. So I don't think it's neither necessary nor helpful to put restrictions there. And I think frankly, it's totally fine if people want to use bits that we produce for this kind of work. I don't think that's necessarily something we need to worry about. I think the contribution path is the one where we have to be sensitive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm all for doing something together with Fedora here, because I think it's going to look very similar anyway. And by virtue that a lot of the code that flows into CentOS Train comes from Fedora originally, it just makes a lot of sense to align on this.
Yeah, and we'll always make the Fedora to CentOS changes, but if we feel like we want to add something in addition to what they have, that is totally appropriate. But we will see what they have to start with. And Jack has mentioned that he asked in the Freckle channel. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I do think that this is a very good topic to align on within Freckle, only because this is more of like whole ecosystem affecting thing, right? And there's going to be like cross-pollination of whatever comes in, maybe bi-directionally even at some like cross point. So that's why I started the chat in Freckle with Justin, because I do think that we should try to closely align ourselves with Fedora on this, as well as they should be aligning with us on it as well. And I want to see what Justin comes back to us with before suggesting that to him, because I think this may be a topic for something where we need to set up a separate discussion with them even before it's in the Freckle chat to kind of align on how we view this working like in all three directions.
No, I definitely agree. And I'm happy that everyone thinks this is an important topic, because like I said, it came out of some other things that were going on and I threw it on here and wasn't sure what everyone's view of it was going to be. So I'm really happy with how this discussion is going. And I wasn't even at the point where we need to talk to Fedora or we need to talk to RHEL. I'm just bringing this forward that this is something we probably need to do. So extremely happy with this discussion.
Yeah. So quick question to Sean. Did Chris give any indication of anything that that they were working on or that they were interested in seeing at all from that relates to our perspective?
No, but I think what's fair to say, like Chris, I mean, he's not going to dictate a policy. That's up to us community-wise to do that. But he was pretty clear that he does not believe the policy should be no AI stuff allowed. He was kind of, I don't know how to phrase this. It was kind of like explore things, look at, different ideas or whatever, but you need to be open to this stuff because it's here. It's going to continue to be here.
And it's probably already in there and we just don't know about it. So we just want to get ahead of it and know about it if you're going to do it.
Yeah,
that was actually another thing he said.
Yeah, and that's the bigger risk is like the stuff that's in there now that we have no provenance for, no policy around, no plan of action for. And that's I mean, I can see that as being like a monumental risk right now. So I do think not addressing it is kind of trying to fight the inevitable in some sense. So it's good that we're trying to decide this now.
All right, we are 35 minutes into the meeting. Do we have any more discussion on this?
The only I'll end the topic by saying this. This is being hashed out by other projects as well. So I will link. Debian had a very long discussion on this, and I will link to the thread where they discussed this on their mailing list and also what the outcomes were, just so that people have a good point of reference, because while there are very diverse viewpoints on this in that project, I think some of them are well worth considering. And it just kind of gets us started, not from zero, right? So we can see how other places are thinking about this, what the perspectives are, and then we can fold that into how we are making our decisions on this.
And I'm linking in the open infra stuff, so you can see our already what is already approved by the board and up there. We did do a little more work on it so that this isn't the most up-to-date copy. We're still in a draft mode on the new one, which is the adding of assisted by. So that link may just have generated by, and it looks like it does. And it also doesn't have the DCO, because the DCO just came in effect, replacing the ICLA with the move to Linux Foundation. But at least that's another policy that's already written that we can use as a idea. Do we have anything else? And once again, I want to say really great discussion, everyone. All right. Johnny said connection issues. Blame it on the storms, Johnny. Secure boot. So recently, the shim has been approved. I believe that is ticket 454, not the board issue, but you can reach it from number 67, which is our secure boot ticket, which I am leaving open for the time being, because while we are making progress, I do not think the issue is fully resolved. CentOS Stream 10 will now be secure boot as of this release, the July 7th release. I do know that Carl has put in a merge request for updating the feature release notes, not feature notes. And I just wanted to see if there was any particular wording. He does not mention the date that we now have of July 7th. His wording is that as of now, I'm not sure if the one reason why I don't want to merge that yet is, do we want to try to tie the release note to saying July 7th? The way most people do install is taking the most recent release. So I just want to make sure that before we merge this, that we have the wording that we do want in the release note that's going out. Does anyone have any feelings of putting more information in the release note that's there? Go ahead, Troy.
The reason I put in these notes July 7th is just so that if somebody has an older boot ISO image, a lot of times they say latest, but a lot of times they also have the date in it.
Yeah,
that's the only reason why I put a date.
And that's why I wanted to discuss that here before we merge the release note, is whether I wasn't the only one who thought maybe we should give a little more information there.
Yeah, I think we should, but also know that we're working on 9, so we're going to have to update it again. I have no time estimate. All I know is it's,
shouldn't 9 have its own release notes though, Troy?
Oh,
yes,
well, yeah.
We kind of created, sorry for jumping the gun, but that living release notes doc we kind of created for 10. So we don't really have
You don't have it for 9.
Oh, okay.
All right. So thoughts? Do we want to add a little more, request Carl to add a little more information there?
I like having the date instead of now.
Okay.
Just so that people know when the boundary was.
All right. Let's just quickly, just to get consensus on this idea. Not that we really need to vote on it, but thumbs up if you are good with this. Adding the date. Anybody not good with adding the date, just put a thumbs down. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't the only one who thought we needed a little more information. Okay, we got no thumbs down, so we are good. So we will make that request in Carl's ticket to just add that little bit more information in there. And we still are working on the SIG solution and just some generalized more secure boot work that's going on behind the scenes. So I don't want to close that ticket. I just want to keep it open for us. But we will add the notes about the tension and the release note. Go ahead, Sean.
I mentioned Adam Shamalik internally, but maybe I should mention, I think it's worth doing a blog post about this and a little bit of promotion, because it is something that many people have been waiting for. So they're not sitting there and monitoring merge requests on the release notes page, right? So I don't know if people want to be involved in crafting that. If Troy, you're interested, or I don't know.
I will be closing plenty of bugs.
Yeah.
But a lot of, I mean, it goes so far back that they're all 9 bugs, so I'm waiting for 9. But
yeah, I think this is a good idea to put a blog out and, you know, make a big deal out of it.
Yep.
Then we're going to need to start this treadmill again in a few months. Yes, Neil, but at least we have something, because the UEFI cert, it was signed with expiring next summer. Hey, that gives us a year. We're making progress. All right. Anything else on Secure Boot? And I'm just writing a blog will be forthcoming. If I can spell forthcoming. There we go. All righty. Sean, we are up to you.
Cool. I don't have a lot to say because I've been on vacation for the last couple weeks. The board nominations end in like 2 days. It's a confidential thing, so I'm not gonna like say who's nominated, but we do have nominees, and I'm happy with the nominee slate. So I think you will be too. On the events front, I'm going to start doing Connect planning like this month, which is like earlier than we've started it in the past. I'm just going to assume I know when FileStim is. And if it's not that date, then I don't know. We'll figure it out. So if anybody has opinions or thoughts on that, you can let me know. But my intention right now is to just basically do this same or similar format to last year in the same venue, going back to the DoubleTree. So if you hate that plan, tell me. And then just 2 upcoming medium-sized events, DevConf US and All Things Open. I think I am attending DevConf US, and I think I'm not attending All Things Open, although I like All Things Open a lot. I have a scheduling conflict. Both of them, I think, are worthwhile having a presence at, like possibly a shared Fedora CentOS table, and I'm talking to people who I think might attend them about that. So if you or people you know attend either of those and would be interested in doing any staffing, again, for a shared table, you know, let me know, because I'm not gonna do a booth if we don't have enough people to staff it. I'm not gonna do it if it's just one person, because that's not fair to them to sit behind a booth for the whole thing. So that's all I have then.
What about the showcase?
Oh, yeah. I will. Yes, we had agreed on a showcase date. I don't remember what it was, but we agreed on it in last month's board meeting, and I was going to go look at the recording to get the date.
On the channel, it was July 28th.
Excellent. I think the plan was that on the week I get back from vacation, I set that up. So I'm going to do that this week. Yes, so we'll have a CentOS showcase on July 28th. It is a half-day virtual conference, so 4 or 5 talks. So you can already start getting your talk ideas together for the CFP. Thank you. It's worth calling out.
We had discussed it, and that's how I knew the 28th date, because I had to go look for it. Because I thought it was the 14th, which would have been bad.
Oh no, that would have been way too soon after. Yeah.
That's why I went looking through the channel.
I would have had to go to CFP on vacation. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the only reason why I know that date is because I went looking through the promo channel. All right. Does anyone have any questions for Sean? Does anyone have any SIG reports or any other business?
Oh, are we? I don't think we can change the date right now, but Neil says FOSSI is the 29th. Are we killing people on their travel day then?
No, you're killing people on the day before the travel day.
Yeah, I'm just saying that since you did it on the 28th, I'm not screwed because I'm flying on the 29th. Oh,
I see, because FOSSI is then what, like 30th, 31st?
Yes, it's the 31st.
Understood. Okay.
It should be okay.
Yep. I'm just saying I'm thankful you didn't screw me that way.
Okay.
All righty. If there's nothing else, we can close out the meeting, turn off the recording. Thank you everyone for attending. As again, really good discussion on the AI governance. And we'll see what Fedora is doing and get everyone together to discuss after we see it.